I remember arguing with one of the counsellors because I had every intention of having a drink when I came back out. Because I thought, well, I've gone to rehab for crack. You know, I'm still going to have a drink on a Friday and a Saturday. I couldn't believe it. How dare she say, like, you know, I can't have a drink. I remember having a go at her.
Thank you for tuning in. And this week's podcast is sponsored by Effect Electrical for your electrical needs. He also specialises in car chargers. And also sponsoring this video is Tech Security. So for your security needs, check him out if you need cameras, gates, barriers, etc. Both their links will be tagged in the bio of this video, so head on over and enjoy the podcast.
Experience Real Podcast.
But yeah, thanks for coming in, Matt.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
That's all right, mate. No, I appreciate you coming in. I come across you on, I think it was like a Swansea group or something. You're obviously sharing your story around.
Yeah.
And, so I wanted to get you in, just have a chat about it and see where you're at now and where you've came from, really. Okay. So, yeah, where do you grow up, mate?
Cheltenham. Gloucestershire, yeah, in England. Only been to Wales twice in my life, I think. Yeah, grew up, normal background, normal family, nothing much to report, I suppose. It was a really nice upbringing. I didn't know the paths I was going to take, obviously. I don't think anyone as an addict does. I was blessed with two wonderful parents who I still got. I've moved back in with them, actually.
Ah, cool, yeah.
So, yeah, it was, childhood, normal, completely normal, nothing to report.
Yeah, just the standard childhood then.
That's
so,
it.
As you were growing up and stuff, I imagine, you know, go to school and everything, and then at what sort of stage did you start, like, getting into... I don't know. When I was like 14, 15, started going out drinking with my mates and stuff. Is that like how it started for you? Or?
Yeah, it was pretty standard. I mean, all through like my younger years, I kind of knew I was different. I'm not sure how. It's very hard to put my finger on it, but I suppose I knew there was something wrong in my head. I knew I wasn't quite right. I was depressed. Like at a young age, I was very depressed.
Yeah.
And I kind of felt very isolated, like excluded from everyone else, which was quite kind of difficult for me to deal with because I was quite popular, but I quite like being by myself. There was a lot of conflict going on in my kind of young mind. But the drink and the drugs, they kind of came in early years of secondary school. I kind of experimented with smoking cannabis, drinking on a weekend, that sort of thing. But even then, drinking, it was never a big part of my growing up because I hated the taste of alcohol.
Right.
And I still do to this day. I mean, I was the worst alcoholic in the world, you know. I hate the taste of alcohol and I hated being drunk. I just loved being someone else and something different.
Losing your mind, like.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, trying to get out. I can, like, relate to that on a small scale. Like, I used to go out every weekend and get blotto, try and lose my mind. And, it's difficult to get out of that cycle, isn't it? So were you drinking every day then? When you were at like your worst point?
Well, my worst, I kind of, at my worst point, I was drinking every day. I was drinking morning, noon and night. I've kind of been up and down all my life. Or ever since I've kind of picked up that first joint, I suppose. I've just been up and down. Like there's been times where I've smoked weed every day and then kind of let it go for a couple of weeks or a couple of months even and kind of replaced it with something else. But there's always been something there on like the back burner, if you like. Alcohol's always been my kind of go-to, and then it leads on to other things, whether it's coke, cannabis, crack, whatever. I mean, alcohol, it always starts with alcohol.
Yeah, that's like your gateway into trying other things. And
yeah.
So were you dependent on them other things at any point, or was it more the alcohol and then over to them?
It's hard to pinpoint when I actually became an addict or alcoholic or addicted, whatever. Because it's so hard to kind of know when it happened. It didn't happen like overnight. It was almost like a ongoing process, and then eventually I kind of became it without realizing it. A lot of people kind of question my drinking and question my drug taking, but no one really intervened because I was so good at hiding it, and I think I hid it so well. I kind of hid it from myself in a way. So. Yeah, it's very hard to pinpoint the exact time, but I know that I was. Obviously, I wouldn't have gone to rehab otherwise.
Yeah. No, mate, it's mad, isn't it? Because it's really weird. where is the line? Because I think a lot of people probably would have a problem if they stopped more than they realise. Do you know what I mean? Because it's such a grey line of is 4 cans a night an alcoholic? Like, I don't know. Like, because like you said, some people are coping alcoholics and they get on with their day to day and they can keep relationships but does it mean there's a problem? I don't know. Like, it's a tough one, isn't it? And
yeah, there's a big grey area. I mean, there's lots of people that can function. They're functioning alcoholics, functioning addicts. I was functioning for a long time. I mean, I was functioning for years, but my life wasn't functional. I mean, I was just about scraping by. I mean, I was in terrible debt for years. I never bought myself new clothes, very rarely anyway. The money side of things was where I was really dysfunctional. I mean, I was payday loans, bank loans. I cleared my mum's savings out, because just from where she bailed me out so many times, I had to use like emotional blackmail for all that. But on the outside, it looked like I was doing all right. I was going to work, albeit drunk and on drugs. I was going to work. I was doing this kind of normal things, but I wasn't present. I wasn't there. It was just like I was just a zombie, really.
Yeah.
And I was going home, collapsing sometimes and just having seizures from sleep deprivation, too many drugs, obviously.
Yeah.
And I never kind of thought, well, there's something wrong here. I should stop doing this. I never thought that. I kind of just, the addict inside me or the demons that were kind of controlling my mind, they wanted to kind of manipulate me into thinking that there was nothing wrong, and that's how I kind of refer to my addiction as my demons. It's like to separate myself from it almost, and that's how I kind of got through it, because they were in control. They hijacked my mind almost. I didn't know what I was doing. I was on autopilot for so long, and I had no control over my life.
Yeah, I suppose when you're in it, it's really hard to have an outside perspective. Is easy looking in and saying this is what you need to change, but when it's actually you and you've got to implement it, it's far more difficult, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people in the recovery community kind of they describe it as being on a roundabout and not being able to get off, because you are going round and round in circles. It's like Groundhog Day. You get up and all your efforts are to like find money, get drugs, get drink, and you don't focus on anything else. I mean, I never had any ambition, no dreams. I didn't want to get a better job. I didn't want promotions at my job that I had. I just wanted to coast through life, and that's a pattern that's always kind of been with me. Even at school, secondary school and primary school, I was always top sets for everything. I was always like the really clever kid that never applied himself. Teachers used to go mad at me, but I don't know, I kind of just thought, well, I'm never going to be the best, so I might as well not try and be the best. So that it was laziness, I suppose.
Yeah.
Laziness for a big part of it, because it's like now, since I've got into recovery, I've kind of realised you have to work for happiness. You have to work hard at it. Like to get fit, you've got to do exercise. It's hard work, but if you work hard, you'll get the results.
Yeah.
And I kind of see that with my mental health. If I actually go out and try and do something to make myself feel happy, it'll actually pay off. But I never wanted to do that growing up, all through my life. Never wanted to do it. Drugs, self-medicate, and that was the easy option. And
yeah.
I'm glad I'm out of that.
Yeah, mate, I'm glad you are as well. And yeah, looking at your posts and stuff, I just couldn't help but take note of what you were saying, and it's definitely impactful. And I think spreading that message around is only going to be a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
So I think so yes, mate. Like getting out of that cycle. How did that look for you? What was there a wake up call, or was there a ultimate moment, which was the deciding factor?
Yeah, I mean, leading up to rehab, I think about a year, 18 months before that, a family friend passed away, and he left his whole estate to me and my brother, and he had about £300,000 altogether, and me and my brother and his one sister, and I basically just blew £109,000.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's quite yeah. So that was a wake up call,
Yeah.
But it wasn't just the money. I mean, the money saved my life. I always say that. I mean, I had a great time. Don't get me wrong. I think not enough people in recovery actually mention the fact that drink and drugs do make you feel good. There's a reason why we take them. You know,
No, I agree. Yeah,
it's the short term. We want that kind of short term feeling, and we don't care about the long term results. You know, and I was just living in this blinkered world. I was buying jewelry, thousands of pounds worth of jewelry, thousands of pounds worth of clothes. I bought a nice car. I just blew all the money. I became addicted to spending. Because when you're an addict, you're not just an addict to like necessarily a drug or a substance. Your whole life is an addiction.
Yeah.
You know, I was addicted to gambling, addicted to spending, addicted to having a good time. You know, that was my whole outlook on life, and I completely blew the money. I was exhausted. I had nothing left. I just physically, emotionally, mentally, whatever. I was broken. I went to my mum one night and I said, look, I've got to go to rehab. I had to actually convince her that I needed rehab because I had hidden it so well.
Yeah,
that
really, yeah.
And she said, are you sure? She knew I was a bit of a party animal, life and soul of the party. You know, everyone thought that. But I actually had to do some convincing, and I think she phoned up and got me into a place like 2 weeks later. And that saved my life. And I ended up, for the last 2 weeks, I was taking out loans to get more money because I just wanted like that one last blowout. I was selling all my furniture in my flat. I was sat like the last night before rehab, I was sat in my flat just smoking crack, surrounded by just nothing but spoons and bicarb and stuff like that, all paraphernalia, and it was just, it was a mess really. And I remember sitting there thinking, God, I can't go to rehab. I can't go. I just didn't want to go, you know. And it was about 2:00 in the morning. My mum was texting me saying, you know, you could, because I was going to stay at her house that night because they were giving me a lift there. And I didn't want to go in the end. Well, I didn't want to go. It took me to like some convincing. I had to convince myself that I needed to go again because I had all these drugs around me, and I thought, well, I'm fine. Even though I was sat on the floor, you know, the carpet was ruined. There was loads of like fag marks everywhere from how I burnt it. I still kind of thought that I had a life, and I didn't. I had no life. My life was over, really. That was the turning point.
Well, I'm glad that night that you decided you took that step and did it. Do you know what I mean? Because I suppose at that point, with your mum already, not necessarily, I wouldn't say she didn't believe you, but she took a bit of convincing. You probably could have convinced her back, I would imagine, couldn't you? So
I could have done, yeah. I think I could.
So you some way you did take the accountability in the end, and you went. So that's an amazing thing in itself. Did anyone know at that point, you know, once you admitted you needed to go to rehab and it was all booked that night before, did anyone like know what sort of state you were in at that point? Like, did anyone know you were like smoking crack or anything like that?
Most people didn't, because I mean, there's all different kinds of like obviously drugs and alcohol. Even at rehab, there's like a divide. Like all the alcoholics that come to rehab, they all think they're kind of better than the drug addicts, you know, because what they were doing was legal. As you know, it's like there's all these different kind of, I don't know, ranks almost into like all these different addictions. I'm not saying all the alcoholics thought that, but a lot of them did. I think it was an eye opener for them. And it's the same on like the outside world. You know, if you're doing a bit of coke, you know, it's fine. Oh, it's socially acceptable. You know, all the lads do it. But as soon as you kind of step into the world of like crack cocaine, even though it's like the same substance or whatever technically, it's just it's that massive leap into like the socially unacceptable. So I kind of covered that up for a long time. When I was using that, it was my dirty little secret, I suppose. People still saw me sniffing coke and drinking, just thought, oh yeah, that's Matt, he's fine. But in reality, I mean, I was taking crack into pub toilets and smoking crack at like 9:00 in the morning, you know, in a pub toilet. And then coming back out and necking pints and Jaeger bombs and that. And it was nobody had a clue. They'd see me go to the toilet and they'd say, oh, you was a while in there, weren't you? And I was like, yeah. And I'd rub my nose and all sorts, you know, just to make it look like I was doing coke. Yeah. I mean, I was trying to convince the bar staff I was doing coke in their toilets.
Most people are trying to convince them they're not.
Exactly, yeah. All shifty looking.
Yeah. Fucking hell, man. It's nuts, isn't it? And I suppose what you're saying, I think like addictive personality is addictive personality. It doesn't matter if it's like drink or crack. I suppose it's easy once you've done it and you've took down that wall of fear, like it's easy to just carry on doing it, I would imagine, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, as soon as you kind of jump into whatever life you're in, you carry on. It's very hard to change direction in your life, I find, unless you're in recovery and you're going back into addiction. Because I've seen people relapse, I've seen people die. You know, it's serious stuff. But I mean, it's when you're on that kind of rocky road down like the crack cocaine route. It's very hard to get back to, like, you know, to sort of demote yourself back down to cocaine. You know, because you're with the big boys when you're doing crack. It's like it's the nastiest, horrible world. I remember being in this one flat. There was no telly. It was just like there was like two sofas just pointing at like the window. They didn't even have a telly. You know, it was just this horrible place. And I was stood there in like this £600 suit with like £3,000 worth of jewelry on my hands and everything. Like, and all these crackheads were looking at me, and I was looking at them thinking, "Oh my God, what am I doing here?" And I thought, actually, I'm one of them. You know what I mean? Just because I got loads of money, it didn't mean anything.
The problem's still the problem.
Exactly. And I learned a lot about different substances when I was in rehab. I mean, like the alcoholics, like the majority of them thought, oh, well, they're on drugs, you know, that's illegal. I kind of thought worse about myself before I went in, but then I realised that it doesn't matter what the substance is, you know, even if it's gambling addict or a sex addict, you know, you're an addict.
Yeah.
It's something that controls your life. Your addiction controls your life, and you do everything you can to keep kind of feeding that addiction and feeding your demons in your mind, you know. And it's just, it's such a shame. It's a waste of life when your whole existence is based around, I don't know, feeding these demons and just, I don't know, trying to please them when you don't need to. If you can break free, you can actually live a life. And I didn't have a life for years, you know. I had girlfriends, I had jobs, like different jobs. I did all the kind of normal stuff, but I wasn't really living, you know. Now I'm actually free, and it's just the most amazing feeling. I love it.
Yeah, that's wicked, mate. I'm glad you are as well, you know. And so take it back, if you don't mind, just to rehab. How long was that process?
It was for 28 days. I went up north. I went up north to a place called Runcorn in Cheshire. And it was the most amazing, beautiful experience ever. I mean, you go in there completely broken, and you feel yourself grow. It's literally like you go in as a zombie and you come out human again. You know, it's like Resident Evil but in reverse. You know, it's like, it's nuts. And to watch people grow with you as well. It's just amazing, absolutely amazing. I've lost 3 people that I know of from rehab that have passed away. I don't know the circumstances about it. I know they've passed away, and that's all that matters really. And they were too young, you know. A lot of people have relapsed, which is really sad. And there's only a few that actually really get on track and like don't use again. I mean, I'm still early days. I mean, I might relapse. I hope not. I'm doing everything I can not to, but I'm still only 16 months in recovery, so it's still early days for me. Yeah,
it's a lifetime, isn't it? I'd imagine it's a constant maintenance of making sure you're in a positive place. Yeah, I bet that was it's tough news to hear when you hear people you were in there with, you know, passing away and stuff. And sorry to hear that.
Yeah, because when you're in there, you kind of, even the people you don't like in there, they're still like your family, that you still love them. Even the people that irritate, even the people that, you know, scav you a cigarette off you in the smoking area, you know, they do your head in, but you just have this kind of unbreakable bond with them. You know, I've had falling outs with people in there, but I still love them. I'd still do anything for them. And it's just, it goes to show how beautiful that experience is, because those 4 weeks, you become so close to people. You know, you're sharing your deepest, darkest secrets. You have group therapy like all day, every day for 4 weeks. You know, it's a lot. It's very intense. And I still speak to most of them. Well, fair few of them, like every day nearly. So it's lovely.
Ah, cool, man. How important do you think being open and honest in there is? Because I'm sure like some people probably go in and struggle really, because I know you're there to do that, but I'm sure some people still struggle to break down them barriers and open up. How was that for you? Yeah,
I mean, I went in there, and I remember actually, fast forward into my last day of rehab, it was, you have something called a graduation. You sat in your circle, and, you know, the counsellor, like, says a few words about you and, like, wishes you well and everything. And everyone said I was the most honest bloke they've ever met, you know? And I owe that to my whole recovery, being honest. I recommend it to anyone, because if you're honest with everyone and honest with yourself, you get a lot more, you're shown a lot more love and kindness, I think. And obviously, if you're lying to everyone, you're staying in that world of addiction. And I just wanted to be as far away as possible from that world of addiction. Because I mean, there's no point getting clean and sober and then still doing all the stuff you used to do, because you're just going to start using again, because you're gonna start going back to the things that made you use in the first place. So yeah, I was really honest. I had no problem with that at all. I remember arguing with one of the counsellors because I had every intention of having a drink when I came back out. Because I thought, well, I've gone to rehab for crack. You know, I'm still going to have a drink on a Friday and a Saturday. I couldn't believe that. How dare she say, like, you know, I can't have a drink. I remember having a go at her. And I remember she said to me, like, why are you here, Matt? I said, well, crack, alcohol, coke. And she said, well, alcohol, that's it. I said, yeah, but I just want to cut down. And she said, but that doesn't work, does it? And she was so right. But I sat there and I argued with her for a good half an hour. I mean, I remember seeing people watching us, you know, like they were watching the tennis, you know. And I just looking back, it just makes me smile, because even like probably 2 weeks into rehab, I was still like, I still had like the demons inside me, like telling me, yeah, go on, have a drink. I was thinking about celebrating when I came out of rehab with a drink and everything. Every Friday night for as long as I can remember, I used to say to myself, and I meant it, I'm going out for 1 pint tonight. And I used to say that to myself every Friday, and I would come home 3 days later. Honestly, it was. That's the madness of addiction. You know, you're doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. I honestly believed I could go out and have 1, maybe 2 pints, and I never, ever could, ever.
Yeah. It's a tough thing to do, mate. And I was never into it more than on the weekends, but that was enough as well. And it does disturb your life. Like you said, I just felt like I was staying still, stuck in the mud. And like, I can't say I don't drink now. I have a drink once or twice a year, but I could see how it could easily take over. Do you know what I mean? And I see people who need a drink every night and stuff, and I wonder how deep rooted is that problem. And like, I would imagine it's only getting worse at the minute with people stuck in the house. And
yeah, definitely, yeah, because I've heard of lots of people relapsing because of the pandemic and that. Obviously, with the lockdowns all over the country. A lot of the time, I do think, and it's going to sound harsh, that a lot of people use it as an excuse. I mean, oh no, the pandemic's got me worried, so I'm going to have a drink. I just think no, it's no excuse. You know, use this time and do something positive. I mean, I started my blog like 4 weeks ago, and I got like 13,000 followers or something. You know, it's amazing. It's incredible.
Flying, mate, isn't it?
Yes, it's amazing, and I've been shown loads of love and kindness. I've had hundreds and hundreds, possibly like 1,000 messages. I don't know, like asking for help and like singing my praises. I've never had that in my life, you know, and I love that, and I love replying to each and every one of them. But it's just that I used that time to kind of do something positive. I turned a negative into a positive, and if you can do that, I mean, you're winning at life, really, aren't you?
Yeah,
you know, and I love what I do. I'd love to do it as a proper job one day. I'd love to work in a residential rehab. That's the dream anyway. And I mean, I'm going to keep this blog going for as long as I need to. And if people need me, I'll be there.
That's wicked, mate. And I think as well, people need to hear that message, maybe if they're struggling, or even like how honest you are on your blog is amazing. And I think people may want to address their problems more when they see someone like yourself who's doing it, because sometimes it's really hard to put the mirror on yourself, isn't it? And
yeah, I mean, the whole point of the blog, to start with, the whole kind of aim was just to inspire the still suffering addict. And then I thought, well, you know, all their loved ones, they need someone to talk to as well. Yeah. So I've been speaking to more loved ones than I have the actual addicts. You know, that's how powerful addiction can be, because there's so many. I've got so many like parents of like drug addicts that are saying, you know, my kids, they're not. They say they haven't got a problem. They're in denial, blah blah blah, and I've got to try and support them. You know, and it's an honor to do so. It's a real privilege for me, because I'm in a position now to actually support people. You know, I couldn't support myself 16 months ago.
Yeah.
So that's really nice. And I mean, it's just kind of snowballed from there. I mean, even to like the shopkeeper that an addict steals off, you know, everyone in society is affected by addiction. You know, it has such a knock-on effect, and it's a global pandemic. I mean, it causes more deaths than coronavirus and every other probably virus, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to do my bit just to try and change that. Even if I can only make a little bit of a mark, I'll be really, really happy. If I can just save a couple of lives, that'd be amazing.
Mate, I think you're probably already doing it without even knowing too far. And like you said, all their messages and stuff. And people who are addicted, like you said, it's the one person that's addicted, but there's a massive ripple effect, isn't there? And it affects everyone who's associated with them. And I expect your family probably had a few tough times because of it.
Yeah. My mum and dad, they went to hell and back. I still kind of feel that guilt now. I don't think I'll ever lose it, but I'm doing everything I can now to try and put it right, you know. And I do talk about recovery being amazing and beautiful and like the best experience in the world, but it's very tricky. I mean, I've had some times in recovery where it's been harder than in active addiction, because in active addiction, even though you got no quality of life, I was malnourished, I was in debt, I had upset people. I knew what I was doing. I had to wake up, use drugs, drink, whatever, and go to bed. That was it, Well, I didn't even go to bed most of the time. But now I've got a kind of purpose in life, and it scares me sometimes. I've got to get up, and I've got people relying on me in the blog, and I've got to go to work, and I've got to do this, and I've got to do that. And it's just like sometimes it gets too much. Like the normal things, I'm not used to them. I'm really not used to it. And I'm still getting used to it, and it's a work in progress. But it's still 100 times better than active addiction.
Yeah, definitely. And sometimes don't feel bad if you can't post or whatever. Just take your time out, take some time for yourself in it. And because you got to be A1 to be able to help these people anyway, haven't you? So, you can't let it slip for you. But I think as well, helping all these people, it adds like another layer of accountability on yourself, doesn't it? Because you want to be that shining light for these people who are struggling. So to be that, you need to be at your best as well, don't you? So I think, it's only going to help you stay on the right path, isn't it? Like inspiring these people to help themselves with their addiction.
Exactly. Yeah. And you hit the nail on the head there, because, it's like when I went to rehab, I always used to say, and I still say it now sometimes, and I shouldn't, but I always say rehab saved my life. They didn't. They gave me the tools to save my own life. And that's like the beautiful thing about recovery, because you learn how to look after yourself all over again, because I spent so many years neglecting myself, neglecting everyone around me, and I never knew how to do it. I never knew how to live, and now I've been given like this fresh start, almost this blank slate, and it's incredible. You can't put a price on it. You can't describe it. I'm just enjoying every single moment. Even the bad days, I'm grateful for having a bad day, because it means I'm human. It means I'm feeling. It means I've got like these emotions. I still can't get used to having emotions. I remember there was a time in rehab when we had like these communal kind of living rooms where we could watch films. Yeah. And I was sat watching the film about Eddie the Eagle, the ski jumper. And there's this bit at the end where, like, don't want to ruin it for anyone, but he comes home to his mum and dad, like with his skis in his hand. And I remember sat in rehab crying my eyes out. I mean, I had never cried in my life. And I was crying my eyes out at Eddie the Eagle, like a film about Eddie the Eagle. And it was just ridiculous. I mean, and then I remember kind of rubbing my eyes and looking around and thinking, oh my God, what if someone walks in and sees me crying? That's like street cred gone. And then I started laughing hysterically to myself. And laughter, I mean, it was only in rehab I actually laughed, and I remember my sides actually hurting and my stomach was aching from laughing so much, because I just had all these emotions come back. And again, you can't describe it, but it's just like someone just walked into like group therapy and like they were giving like their deepest, darkest secrets, and like and it wasn't a moment to laugh at, and I just started laughing, and then someone else started laughing, and I felt bad, but I couldn't stop. And it was just, it's like being at primary school, when a teacher like farts or something, and you start laughing. It was just uncontrollable, but it was amazing because I could feel.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head with the feelings there coming back, because when I kind of decided, right, I'm gonna have a few months off drinking, I was like an emotional wreck. It was really weird, because I think even if it's just the weekends, the days, whatever, you block everything out, don't you? All the time. Like I was blocking everything at like Monday to Friday. It was like, let's get over this hangover. And then like later on in the week, let's get ready to go out again. Nothing else matters. And you block everything else out. You don't think about everything. And then you go out, get blotto and forget again, don't you? And I feel like you're just suppressing it, and it's just building up, and I don't feel like them feelings go away. They're just building up in the background, and they have like a really negative effect, don't they, when they're just sat there and you're not dealing with them. Yeah. You got to confront your emotions and just kind of look at yourself. I mean, rehab was 28 days of self-analysis. I mean, I learned more about myself in those 28 days than I did in my 27 years, or 28 years. And it was incredible, because
I had to actually look at myself and kind of change everything I wanted to change, except what I couldn't change. And it was just, it was amazing. And watching everyone grow around you, you can't even describe it. I mean, you watch people come back from the dead. That is literally what happens. I mean, I was on the brink of death. I remember like the weeks leading up to going to rehab, especially. I remember like not being able to breathe properly, and like because I had smoked so much crack, my lungs, I couldn't actually take a deep breath, and like for like a good couple of days, and I thought it was like irreversible. And so I kind of laid off the crack for 2 days and just sniffed coke instead, because that was the solution. You know, I had to take something. And then my lungs got better, so I started smoking crack again. You know, and I thought, oh, brilliant. You know, I can just keep. Away, I can just keep doing this. And you know, you spend so long burying your head in the sand, you never confront your actual problems and stuff like that. I mean, since I've been in recovery, I've got my PTSD addressed because I got hit by a car when I was 15.
Right.
I should have mentioned that earlier, really. But yeah, I got hit by a car when I was 15, and it hit me at 60 miles an hour.
Fuck.
And yeah, it was quite painful.
I imagine.
And well, actually, I didn't feel it at first because it was just the shock. But I got hit at 60. I was in hospital for like 24 hours, and that was it. I was released or discharged because I didn't actually break a bone. It just like messed up my face and a bit of damage to the back of my head. That was it. But there was nothing wrong with me. And but like the whole shock of it and the experience, I mean, I was actually suffering from untreated PTSD for many years. And I never ever addressed that. And when I did, because I was on so many drugs and I was drinking so much, like the treatment was never effective. You know, I had counselling, I had like CBT, I had medication, I had doctor's appointments non-stop, and nothing was touching it because I was so heavily involved in drink and drugs. I was self-medicating. The actual medication, the actual therapy wasn't working. So I was just, again, I was on this roundabout, this vicious cycle, and it was dreadful. But once I actually got clean and sober, I could address my mental health. And I remember this experience. It was I had to do something called reliving. It was part of the CBT, and I had like 10 weeks therapy, and I had to like talk from start to finish about the accident. And I remember, I mean, I feel like getting choked up now, but I actually remember crying so bad, you know, because it was like I stepped in front of the car, stepped into the road, and I just started crying, and I couldn't finish a sentence, and my therapist was like, this is good, just keep going, and I couldn't stop crying. And I mean, it was the first time I'd ever actually confronted my emotions, confronted my feelings about that event, and it was the most liberating experience ever, because I remember after like the 10 weeks, it felt like, I remember he used to use this analogy of like the linen cupboard. He said, like, imagine the linen cupboard doors are open and all the linen's on the floor. You know, you're not getting rid of the linen like your memories, you're just folding it up and putting it back in the cupboard. And that's how you do like the PTSD, like therapy. And that's what it does. You know, I've kind of closed the chapter and put the book on the shelf, if you like. You know, it's never going to go away. I'm still going to get like flashbacks, I suppose, but I know how to deal with them, you know, and that's a very liberating experience, like I say.
Yeah, mate, I can imagine that's a tough thing to get over, like, fucking hell.
Yeah, it was,
like, 24 hours, that's mad, isn't it? Like, in hospital, you would have thought, like, not many people walk away from that sort of thing, do they? And
yeah, I think the statistics was like 90% chance of death. I mean, and in the 10%, you got like broken bones, paralysed, real brain damage. And I was just very lucky. I mean, I was front page in my local paper, you know, I was a celebrity for a week. And I mean, that was kind of very conflicting for my mind, because I had always wanted to be the centre of attention all my life, but I was very shy. You know, it was again that conflict, and I kind of got everything I wanted when I was hit by a car, you know, but I was kind of dealing with like the PTSD that I didn't know about. I was a celebrity for a week, and then all of a sudden everyone thought, oh, Matt's all right now, so let's just get on with our lives, you know. And I was like, no, I want the attention. And that's when I started getting into Class A's. That's when I started getting into like cocaine and that, when I was about 15, 16. And I just started hanging around with the wrong people, doing pills, coke, drinking, and this was all before I was 18, you know. I remember actually picking up cocaine at the age of 15, being stood on a street corner waiting for it, and I got it in like 5 minutes. And then I had to wait outside the shop and get someone to go in, and I had to wait like 2 hours for someone to go in and get me booze. So I was getting cocaine in 5 minutes, and it was taking me like half an hour to like get just a bottle of Strongbow, you know.
No ID needed.
Exactly. Yeah. Crazy.
Mate, it's a crazy world, isn't it? And I don't know, like youngsters of today, how they're going to navigate it, I don't know. Like it's really strange, isn't it? Like,
Yeah.
What advice would you have for someone like growing up now who's coming to that age where all your friends are going out drinking, and like it's a really tough one, isn't it? Because you don't know who's going to be the person it's really going to take a hold of.
Yeah, I mean, because if you look at like the people I grew up with, like let's just say there was 10 of us that were smoking weed growing up. I mean, there's a few of them that don't even touch the stuff anymore. I mean, they gave it up as quick as they started. There's a couple of them that like have gone down the crack and the heroin route even, you know, there's a couple of them maybe in prison, but it's almost like you never know what's going to happen. But I think a lot of people kind of get over it. And it's, I don't know, it's a tricky one to say to like the young kids, because I've been asked to do talks in schools and that. And I mean, I'd have to think long and hard about what I'd say to them if I did like a talk at a school, because they're so kind of, I don't know, they're kind of, you can change them at that age, I suppose, that you can influence quite easily. So I'd have to be really good at what I did and what I said, because I don't know, they're easily influenced. But what could I say to change them? I mean,
it's tough, isn't it?
I would have to just say, like, make your own mistakes almost, you know, because it's. But I can't say that, can I? Because how do you do it?
No, you kind of like saying, go on, but see how you cope. But
I wish I knew about this question, because I would have thought about it more.
Caught you out
That's
off guard.
All right. But no, I would kind of, I'd try and tell them if they do make mistakes, not to do it again, I suppose.
Learn.
Yeah, I mean, everything you do in life is kind of a learning experience, you know. And I think, would I change everything that I did? I'd change a fair bit, but at the same time, it's made me what I am today.
Yeah.
I'm not suggesting go down the cocaine and the crack cocaine route, but you know, smoking a bit of weed with your mates, a lot of kids do that. I've had a lot of parents message me through the Endless Possibilities page, and they've actually said, like, you know, my son's 14, he's smoking weed, and I've kind of gone, well, you know,
it's kind of normal.
Yeah, it's quite, as sad as it is. And I mean, with alcohol as well, because alcohol is such a socially acceptable thing to do, even when you're young. I mean, going over the park when you're young, I mean, we all did it. And it's only that kind of minority that go on to have it as a problem in their life, you know. But alcohol causes a lot more problems than coke and crack, I would say. I mean, I haven't got any statistics to back that up, but I know a lot more alcoholics than I do kind of crackheads, you know.
I'd agree with you there, like, because like you said, it's socially acceptable, it's easy to get a hold of, unless you're 15.
Coke's fine.
I think as well, like if you're a parent and you're worried about your kid having a drinking problem or whatever, like they're growing up and they're 14, 15 and they're starting to look to go out drinking with their mates, maybe like take a look at yourself, innit? If you're drinking, maybe they're looking at you as if it's okay.
I suppose.
And they're just not old enough yet.
Yeah.
So, you know, maybe, you've got to look at your own habits as well, innit, to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, like drugs are glamorized a lot in the media. You know, you look at all these like football hooligan films and they're all like sniffing coke and doing this, that and the other, you know, and it's just, and a lot of kind of young lads, they kind of look up to those people and think, I can't wait to go out and sniff coke. I remember when I was younger, I thought, I'm going to try coke one day. You know, I remember when I was a very, very small child, I used to say to my mum, I'm going to smoke when I'm older. And my mum said, no, you won't be that stupid. They're too expensive. And I was like, no, I'm going to smoke when I'm older. Just cigarettes, like, obviously. And she said, yeah, all right then, Matt. And I did. And as soon as I was 11 years old, I tried my first cigarette. And I thought, this is disgusting, but I look cool when I'm doing it, so I'm going to carry on smoking. I mean, I literally spent thousands and thousands of pounds, you know, for years on cigarettes because, well, it started off with me saying, I want to look cool, you know, I want to be a big man, you know, because I'm smoking. Like, big deal, you're killing yourself, you know.
I know, it's fucking nuts, isn't it?
I've only just been able to like run 100 yards up the road. I could never do that growing up because I was so unfit and I had like smoker's cough at like 13. I mean, it's sad. And looking back, I think, what a wally. And I want to give myself a slap round the head. And obviously I can't do that to kids these days because I'll get probably arrested. But if I had the choice, I'd probably give them a clip round the ear roll and just say, look what you're doing. Look at your lungs. Look at your health. Look at the finances. I put all the evidence in front of them.
Just logically, innit?
Yeah, I'd probably just give them all the evidence and hope they make the right decision. Actually, rewind that because that's what I wanted to say. Yeah, just give them all the evidence and let them make an informed choice because, I mean, like teenagers, as a teenager, I knew what I was doing. I was immature. I was an idiot at a lot of the time, but I knew what I was doing. I made an informed choice about everything that I did. You know, I remember being nervous about sniffing my first line of coke because I thought, God, this could kill me. Well, never mind. I look big and hard, don't I, if I have this line of coke? So I did it. you know, my first pill. I remember I was probably 18, 19, and I took a couple of ecstasies, and I took one, I started feeling a bit weird, and I took another one, which was stupid. And I remember actually, but yeah, obviously.
Just register that then.
Yeah, after I took it. And I remember I wrote on my notes on like the iPhone, I remember writing, I have just taken 2 ecstasies at 2:40 a.m, blah, blah, blah. If paramedics find me, this is what I've taken. Because I was so paranoid about what I had taken, and I screenshotted it and made it my wallpaper, you know, my jaws swinging all over the place. Couldn't enjoy the buzz at all, you know. Yeah. But I was just, I knew what I had done. And it was just so stupid. I remember that having that as my wallpaper, like for the whole night, and holding my phone, you know, just in case I collapsed and died or something, like something happened to me. The paramedics could find me and they could save me, you know, I hoped. But, and that's the kind of the mentality. Instead of just not taking the ecstasy, I did all that. I went to all those lengths.
There's a little bit of common sense in there, wasn't there?
I suppose so, yeah. And I didn't let anyone see either, you know, I did it because it wouldn't be cool doing that, you know. But I remember like it was yesterday. And it's not big and it's not clever. If I had my time again, would I have experimented? Well, probably not, because I knew I'm an addict now. You know, I would have turned into an addict. But experimenting was nice, and I think it's a normal part of growing up for a lot of people. Would I recommend it? No. Are you going to do it? Most probably, yeah. It's just like I say, give them the evidence and make them like. Make their own choices.
I agree with you there, because like you went back to saying, you telling your mum, oh yeah, I'm going to smoke a fag when I'm older and whatever. Like when I was younger, I don't think there was anyone who could have stopped me doing what I wanted to do. Because, and if they did, I would have only have done it later on when they couldn't stop me.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So to a degree, you do learn your own lessons.
Yeah. Well, when I was growing up, I mean, it took like the bad things that happened, like, you know, my car accident, like getting hit by the car, that kind of sped the process up, but it was only speeding up the inevitable, I think. I think I'm almost grateful for that, because let's just say I didn't have that accident at 15, I could still be now doing all the same things that I was doing last year or the year before, and I'd just be on Groundhog Day again, and if I hadn't sped up the process, I could have still been doing this at the age of 40, 50, you know.
Yeah.
I'm quite thankful that I've got clean at this age. It's still going to be a rocky road, you know. There's still possibilities of relapses and whatever. I don't even want to think about that really, because I'm doing everything I can not to relapse, you know.
Yeah.
And as long as you do that, I mean, it's like anything with life. You just look after yourself and do everything you can to give yourself a good life, and you've got a fighting chance at having a good life, you know. And that's all I want. I just want. I'm like striving for adequacy as opposed to perfection. I mean, I've heard that saying a lot in the recovery community, you know, because that's all I want. I just want a normal life. I want a family. I want a home. I want a mortgage, stuff like that, you know.
Yeah.
And all those things couldn't have been possible the way I was going. I mean, I was very selfish, self-centered. Everything was revolved around me. It had to. I mean, like, how else could I have been a drug addict if it didn't revolve around me? You know, I was emotionally blackmailing my mum and my dad, like trying to get money out of them. Everything was geared up to my addictions, and I just forgot about me. I mean, my skin was like this pasty grey colour. It was horrible. I was like malnourished. I was all skin and bones. I had absolutely no life. I mean, yeah, there were good times and there were glimmers. There were glimmers of hope, you know, glimmers of me being like a human being. And that they kind of like kept me going, I suppose, because I still had good times, you know. Like I said earlier, drinking and taking drugs, you know, you're going to have good times, you know.
It's fun on the high, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. It's the come down that you're worried about. I mean, I've had some dreadful come downs. I've planned my suicide in come downs before. I've actually planned how I'm going to do it, when I'm going to do it. That's how bad it's gone, yeah, because whatever goes up must come down. I remember a particularly bad come down. I'd had like a cocktail of LSD and cocaine the night before and alcohol. And I think I've been going a good couple of days, and I mean, the hallucinations on LSD, they were absolutely just, well, they was terrifying one minute and amazing the next. You know, I was seeing cobwebs in the like the room, and I was having to climb through these cobwebs that weren't there. I was picking up my mate's shoes and chucking them at the wall because I thought there were people attacking me, and there weren't anyone there, you know. And it was just like the craziest times, but I was somewhere else. I had escaped reality, and that's all I ever wanted, really. So I was loving it. But then the come down, that's what it is. You're coming down, and it's a very dangerous place to be, a come down, because you kind of you're you're facing reality and you don't want to, and you've got a hangover and obviously a come down, and it's just like all these drugs are making you feel so depressed. And I remember lying there thinking, this is just the worst thing in the world. Why do I do it to myself? And I think I went out that night and done it all again.
Just because you couldn't live in the reality.
Yeah, I hated reality. I hated the real world. I thought that everything was against me, when in reality it's not. I mean, you know, because I always say to people, look, you're trying to escape reality. I did for years. And when I actually saw reality, it's not that bad. I think you're kind of trying to escape the unknown more than anything. You don't want to confront anything, you know, just put it in a drawer, forget about it. That's what you do. And it's really sad. It's really sad that for so many years, my life, my whole kind of purpose in life was trying not to live, trying not to be present and be there. I mean, why? I mean, I had a nice life, wonderful mum and dad, wonderful family and friends. I mean, like, well, a lot of my friends weren't, they were bad influences, but I still had a lot of people I was close to and that loved me, and I loved them. And I didn't actually want to be there. And I think that's really sad. And it's that kind of upsets me in a way, because why couldn't I have just lived a normal life? That's all I've ever wanted, a normal life. And now I got it.
Yeah, and you're going to carry it forward as well, mate, aren't you? So,
yeah, definitely.
Class. Like, I think as well, influences, you've got to detach, haven't you? Have you had to detach from a lot of people who you once bothered with, or?
Yeah, I think that was one of the scariest bits for me, because, I mean, it became clear in rehab that I'd have to change a lot of my life around. And again, going into the unknown was something that I didn't want to do, and I was really reluctant to change my life. There's people that I've had relationships with, and I'm talking friendships when I say relationships, you know, like all these people that if they're actually worth anything to you and it's worth keeping, the relationship will just change. They'll adapt to the situation. It's like, I've got a cousin of mine we're very close, and we used to go out drinking like every weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, all the time. And I thought like our relationship would be over, you know, because he still drinks and I don't. And I thought, well, what are we going to do? And all our relationship has done is just adapted to the situation. I mean, all we do now is text each other on WhatsApp, like funny videos and funny voice messages and stuff like that. We don't go out together because, well, what's the point? I'm not going to sit and watch him drink.
Yeah,
and
it's no good for you, is it?
No, but, you know, because, you know, I love him to bits. It's like that relationship it's just changed, and that's all it done. It's adapted to its environment. And I mean, if it's worth keeping, that will happen. There's other people who I still love to bits. I mean, people from the pub, for instance, that if I only know them from the pub, then we're not going to carry on. Like, and I still love them to bits. And I still, if I pop in for a J2O, I'll have a good chat with them and everything. But you've just got to kind of accept that that's the end of the era. And again, it's nothing like kind of, there's no hard feelings on them at all. But it's just, that's it. There's no you're never going to kind of progress with that relationship, you know, that friendship, because you're not doing the same thing that you were doing every single day. But yeah, I still love them to bits. And then there's the other ones, of course, the other people that like come up to you and say, oh, Matt, you've got a line on your Matt, you know, and all that. And I thought they were amazing friends, like at the time, but that would literally be the first thing they'd say to me. You got a line on, you got a line. Oh, yeah, go on then. And I'd sort them out, sir. Yeah, Kushti, yeah, do you want a pint? Yeah, all right. And our whole relationship revolved around drink and drugs. Now, that's clearly not going to work anymore. And if I still see those people, I'm only going to get drawn back into it. And I don't want to. So I just have to say goodbye to them. And is that such a bad thing? No, I don't think so.
I don't think you're losing much.
No, definitely not. No, because if I carry on with them, then I'm just going to end up in the same place as I was. You know, and it's no hard feelings. It's just, see you later. I'm doing my own thing now.
Definitely, mate. And hopefully, you know, if they ever decide they want to turn things around, you're going to be the person that they could possibly see as their shining light then, isn't it? So
hopefully, yeah, I'll hold the torch.
Exactly, mate. So where do you see this blog going? Like, what I know you touched on it earlier a little bit, working in a rehab and stuff. So is that your main goal, or is there other goals with it?
I think my main kind of goal is breaking the stigma attached to addiction. I mean, when you think of an addict, you kind of see like this person, like this stereotypical addict that robs old ladies and that, you know, is just undesirable in every way, shape and form, you know. And I just want to kind of change people's perceptions about that, because we're not all like that. addicts, ex-addicts, however you want to identify, you know, because I was a drug addict for years. I never robbed anyone's house. I never robbed anyone, like, money out my grand's purse or anything. I mean, she used to send me to the cash point and, like, say, can you draw out X amount? And I'd say, yep, no problem. I'd go and take it to her. And I would be starving, hungry. I'd have no drugs, no drink, nothing. But she would get every single penny of that. And I don't expect a pat on the back for it, because that's what you're supposed to do.
Yeah,
but it's kind of those people that, oh, well, they were funding their addiction. That's why they stole off that old lady, or they robbed that house or whatever. And it's like, well, no, that's no excuse. It might be the reason, but it's no excuse. And I kind of just want to make people realise that we're not all the same. You shouldn't, like, put us all in the same category, in the same box. So that's a big thing for me. And I think the reason people, like, kind of talk behind closed doors, like you think about, like, 12-step meetings or other meetings, like for alcoholics and addicts, they kind of keep it private because they're ashamed of it. Now, I don't want to be ashamed of the person that I am. I consider myself an ex-addict. A lot of people identify as an addict forever, you know, that's up to them. I think I'm an ex-addict, but I'm not ashamed of that part of my life. You know, I've learned from it, I've grown from it. And I want to talk about it in the open, because I want the average person to realise why I went through that, how I went through that, how I've come, like, on leaps and bounds from that. And I think that'll be invaluable in changing people's perceptions, helping people, because if we can all just talk about it, I mean, talking therapy is just the best kind of therapy. I mean, you should know it in this kind of line of work.
Definitely, mate.
I can feel myself feeling better now just talking to you, and obviously, you know, people hearing me say about this, but I just think if we can just talk about it and be open and be honest, you know, that's been key to my recovery. I think it will be key into changing people's opinions, perceptions, the ordinary people, you know, the knock-on effect to society. You know, everyone can hear why I'm doing it and just understand before they judge. I mean, make your own judgment after you've, like, kind of listened to it, but at least understand before you judge.
I like what you're saying there, because I think, you know, if you all hide in the shadows about your problems and you don't want to tell the outer world, and, like, all respect to them people, because it may have an impact on them, which will lead them back down that path maybe. But if people like yourself can be open and honest about it, it'll give the people who want to change, and, like, they'll be able to see your perception of things, and that'll make a difference, because they'll be able to relate to it and they'll be able to move forward. Whereas if there's no one, they'll feel like their problem's that much worse, because they're like, there's no one else going through this. Like, where are all these people? Do you know what I mean? Oh, it's all, like, behind closed doors, like, oh, it's their own little group. Whereas you're out there in the open, available for people to speak to, and very honest about what you've been through. You're probably the most honest person I've had on you. Genuinely.
Thank you.
What would you reckon? Oh, yeah. So that's class. And yeah, people, like, need to hear it. And the people who are struggling, they need that person who they can talk to who's been there. So it's great, mate. Yeah,
I've had a lot of messages off people, addicts themselves, struggling, and saying, you know, what you've written in your blog is basically my life story, you know, and that makes me feel good as well, because I know that I'm not alone. Even though I know I'm not alone, it just kind of reinforces the fact that I'm not alone, because addiction is such a lonely thing, and recovery can be even more lonely. You know, you've got to be prepared for that when you get into recovery, because, you know, I can't just go down and just go to the pub and get on the karaoke and be the center of attention and not be lonely. I can't do that anymore. It's just not possible with me. I know there are some people that can do karaoke sober, but that's witchcraft in my opinion. If you can do that, you're weird.
Stick a song on if you want.
No, that's fine. Thank you. That's fine. But yeah, it's amazing. Like, people, like, come to me and they're just so grateful because I've shared my story and they've kind of related to it, as you say. And that's invaluable. And if I can just continue being honest and talk about my thoughts, my feelings, everything I've been through, and it can, like I say, help a couple of people, that would just be absolutely incredible. I'm even getting loved ones of addicts who have passed away, and they've actually said, you know, reading what you're talking about, I can understand why my son or my brother or my daughter, sister, whatever, did overdose and did take drugs and whatever. Because I don't know, it's when people overdose and die from their addictions, it leaves a lot of kind of unanswered questions. And if I can just answer a few of those questions and give a bit of closure to, like, grieving relatives, that would be incredible as well. There's so many people that you can help by being open and honest and talking about your experiences, and that's why I want to continue to do it. Well,
you can just see that from how your blog's gone so far already, innit? How long do you say you've been doing it?
I think just less than 4 weeks, I think.
Yeah. What is it, like 10,000 or 13,000 or something crazy? Like, so Do you know what I mean? That's got to reinforce what you're doing, isn't it? Does that feel good to you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, I made it a point, because I've got like, I don't know, over 1,000 friends on Facebook, and when I started the blog, it said, "Do you want to invite friends?" And I said no, because I don't want to invite friends to like my blog. You know, I don't want to do this for my ego. I want people to like my blog and follow my blog, because I want them to want to like it and follow it.
Yeah.
I want them to want to further their understanding. I want people to have the same passion as I do, in a way. A lady commented the other day on one of my posts saying, "I've not had any kind of real experience with addiction, and I'm fortunate enough not to have any loved ones, but I've just liked this blog because I want to further my understanding." And I was just like, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I couldn't have asked for more, because she's just an ordinary woman who probably has a bad opinion of addicts. I mean, most people do, and rightfully so, because we're portrayed as like dreadful people. So you can't blame them for that. But I want to change that. We're not all the same.
Yeah.
Addiction is like an illness, disorder, disease, whatever you want to call it. It's a problem either way. Whatever you call addiction, it's a problem on a global scale, and it needs to be sorted out. I mean, it's never going to go away completely. I know that, but if I can just kind of change people's opinions, their perceptions, I'll be really happy.
That's class, mate. I think, doing your blog, coming on your, this is obviously a good opportunity to voice it as well, not just have it written down in it. So hopefully this will touch a number of people. So what are you going to do now to further the blog? Just keep going?
I'm going to keep going. I'm going to start doing a few videos as well. Maybe just like little 5-10 minute videos, just what I'm going through in the day. Because I mean, obviously there's only going to be so much of my past I can write about. I want to get the past out of the way, and I want to kind of just show people what recovery is all about. I want to kind of move on from that. I'll always look back into the past. I mean, I've heard someone say, someone that was at my old rehab. He said, recovery, it's like driving a car. You always got to keep going forward, but check your rear view mirror. Look behind you. Yeah. But if you look behind you too much, you're going to crash. You know what I mean? And it's the same with recovery. If I just live in the past, I mean, what's the point of that? I want to live. I've got into recovery so I can live in the moment, live in the present. Why do I want to look in the past so much?
Yeah.
But obviously I'm doing that to help people. I'll always glance in the rearview mirror, like I say. But I want to talk more about my recovery, what I'm going through day to day. I wrote an article a while back about a relapse dream I had. They're vivid. They can be terrifying. It's a dream where you've relapsed and you wake up with this enormous sense of guilt, and it's horrible. Yeah. And you can actually get hangovers from it. I woke up feeling rough, like I had just sunk 15 pints the night before, and I hadn't touched a drop. This was a few weeks ago. That's how real they are. And then you kind of snap out of it and you feel a lot better, but it's not a good way to start your day. So I mean, things like that in recovery, that's what I want to talk about, because it's not all rosy. It's not like a big yellow brick road. It's hard work. You've got to work at it.
Yeah, I could only imagine, mate. Yeah, and dealing with all them feelings and having all that brought back up. I don't know. I used to get in the cycle where, and this is not to do with drink or anything like that, but I used talking about starting your day off, and sometimes I get up and I'm just stressed from the word go. I'm late for this. I employ some breathing techniques and stuff to bring me back to ground zero, I call it.
Yeah.
Do you do anything like that?
Yeah, I meditate. I try and meditate at least twice a day. Well, twice a day. I just do 10-minute guided ones from an app I got on my phone. I'm not an expert. Obviously, it's a guided meditation, so someone talks you through it. But that's changed my life. I mean, I used to laugh at people that meditated. I used to laugh at people that jogged in the park. I thought, why do you want to jog? The pub's that way. What you're doing. People that used to go out and exercise, exercise is like a natural antidepressant. And again, you've got to work for that antidepressant, instead of just going down the pub and having 3 or 4 pints then and having a line of coke, that used to be my antidepressant, but it was making me more depressed.
Yeah. Now,
when I cycle or when I go out running or do a bit of training, I feel good. I feel amazing, but you've got to work for it, That morning I had the relapse dream. I woke up and I went out on a bike ride for 20 miles, because I wanted to change the course of my day. If I had just if I had just laid in bed and thought, oh God, that was horrible, that relapse dream, the rest of my day, like you say, it would just go down that road. I don't want it to. You got to put the effort in. Make the effort. And that's in and out of recovery. I mean, even if you're not addicted to drugs or whatever, even if you're living a so-called normal life, you still got to work for happiness. You still got to work for what you want, you know, because you get nothing in this life. I mean, I should have listened to my teachers and my mum and my dad, you know, when I was younger. They used to say, if you put the work in, you can get qualifications and go to university. I didn't listen. I didn't put the work in. I turned up to like exams drunk and under the influence of weed and whatever, you know, because I just wasn't interested.
Yeah.
If I had just listened, I mean, I sound like an old man now. It's like I'm talking to the school kids now, isn't it? But if I had just listened to like...
It's trial run.
Yeah, if I had listened to the people that were like telling me what to do or advising me what to do, I'd be in a much better position now, you know. It's like, what did my dad used to say? He said, I'm not saying it for my own good or something like that. Like, you know, he'd tell me, don't do that. I'm not saying it just for my own good. And I used to think, yeah, all right then, you know, typical like Kevin and Perry teenager. And I should have just listened to him. Why didn't I listen to him?
Yeah.
Why didn't I listen to my mum when she'd say, you know, if you revise for this exam and do this and get GCSEs, you can do this and do that. No, I don't want to do that, do I? And I used to go out smoke weed with my mates and that was it. I didn't think about it the next day, you know. It was dreadful.
We kind of detach from it, I think, don't we? Like I was exactly the same. I can relate to you in so many ways. Whereas you're like, oh, just stop fucking nagging me. Like, get off my case. This is what I want to do right now. But you never ever like take a look into the future about really where you want to be and what you actually need to get there. And yeah, I just think you're going to only ever live your own life, aren't you? I think it's really hard. I think you actually need to see people doing great things, possibly, to actually want to do them and action it. Do you know what I mean? You can't just hear it because you don't believe it, do you? I think. And
exactly, yeah. Because I mean, when I was younger, as all kids do, because like, especially as a teenager, you don't listen to the grown-ups. I mean, 90% of kids don't, you know,
No.
Kids know best and that's it. We were all the same. And it's just unfortunate that I kind of took it one further and like went down the crack cocaine route and stuff like that. But it's a normal thing not to listen. But if we can do everything we can to try and make them listen and give them the evidence, like I said earlier, it would be the world would be a much better place. Because if I had actually known what my life would turn out like, I obviously wouldn't have made those decisions. But hopefully my blog, I mean, I get a lot of parents and loved ones of addicts saying my son, daughter, brother, sister, whatever, is really struggling, she's in denial, blah, blah. And I say, the first thing I say to them is if they're in denial, there's not a lot I can do. They've got to accept the help. They've got to accept they've got a problem. That's the first biggest step.
Yeah.
If they're in denial, they'll show them my blog because that's all I can do. If they can see my blog and read it and think, actually, this is my life, you know, and they're reading one of my articles, if something can just click in their head or inspire them just to make that change, just to accept that they've got a problem, that would just be amazing. That is the best result that I could want. If my blog can be the turning point of someone's life, that would just be amazing. That's something to go down on my CV, you know?
yeah, mate, class. And yeah, I appreciate you doing it for everyone. Like, even for me, I look at it and I can relate to everything you put out. So, you know, the only thing it's doing is doing positive things. And I think as you go forward, like, I don't think you'll have any trouble if you went into a school, mate. You'd put it together great. And I think just sharing your experience with them and what you've been through is probably enough. Even if it changes one of them kids' lives, innit, or has an impact, it's one more than not. So
yeah, well, I remember at secondary school there was a bloke come in and he even sang a song about, you know, being in recovery and whatever, and I thought, God, what a square. Do you know what I mean? And he probably did make a difference to a lot of people's lives in the audience, but it wasn't mine. It wasn't meant to be. I remember thinking, God, he's a wally, isn't he? Do you know what I mean? What is he singing about being like naturally high and all this? So I remember the song actually. It was dreadful. I'm not singing it though. But yeah,
we'll get you to sing by the end of this. I can feel it.
Yeah, but no, I just remember, and it just had no effect on me. But like you say, if I could just change a couple of kids' lives or something like that, and save them from going down that route, because although it's worked out all right for me now, and I've got a life beyond my wildest dreams, it's not the route to go down. I mean, I've been extremely lucky. It's taken a lot of hard work, a lot of effort, a lot of pain, a lot of misery, a lot of tears to get where I am now. You can just do it the easy way and have a really good life like I've got now without doing all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
Just look after yourself, self-care, exercise, eat well, meditate, you know, do things that make you happy. Don't do things because other kids want you to do things, you know. Don't, like, if someone passes you a joint, just say no thanks. Just say no to drugs. We were all told that when we were younger. I didn't listen. I was like, yeah, say yes to drugs. It's brilliant. You know, I was probably the one passing the joint to other people, and it was it's just sad looking back, because all those people that, you know, the kids that were in our group, oh no, I don't want to touch weed. We used to go, what's wrong with them? You know, now you look at them and they're like solicitors and doctors and stuff like that. You know, why couldn't I have just been more like them? But, you know, that's my journey, and that's it. I can't change that. But yeah, this is so much easier to have. There's an easy way of having a good life, and that's just looking after yourself. You know, don't do it the hard way like me, honestly. It's dreadful.
Yeah. Well, it's a positive message, mate, and I think we're going to leave it there. And I want to say thank you very much for coming on, sharing. You've been really open, and I really appreciate it. I'm sure many people will. Yeah, where can people find you, mate?
My blog is called Endless Possibilities on Facebook. I haven't branched out to Instagram yet, but I've been told I need to. But yeah, Endless Possibilities on Facebook.
Rightio, mate. Nice one. And I'll put a link anyway in the Facebook post. I'm going to post it on Facebook as a podcast, so you'll be able to share it around then. And yeah, I wish you all the best, mate.
Thank you very much, Joe. Thanks for having me. Cheers.
Legend.
Experience Real podcast.